This is the UGA Call-in show from UGAsports.com. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm Dayne Young, in for Paul Maharry, which is kind of weird because he's also here. So, Paul, I don't know how you want to explain that to the people that were expecting your voice first.
Hey, well, yeah, we're at the beach. We got in tonight. So, I didn't want to bring the laptop and everything with us. We had 9 people traveling, so didn't have enough room. And Dayne was so gracious and got back from New York, decided to host it for us. So we're here. We're live. We've just got Dayne's beautiful face with us as well. So we'll try to have as much fun as possible. I'm shooting off of a phone, so my blemishes and things will probably show up a little more, but we'll carry on from there. But Dayne's got some great topics tonight. I mean, he's filling in great. So.
Well, the last time I filled in for you, I learned about your 9:30 frozen pizza thing. So I'm assuming you have people at the grocery store buying your frozen pizzas after concert.
Yeah,
right?
we probably have some frozen pizzas. We're at Fort Walton Beach, so we went to this place called Stubby's, and it was a really good seafood restaurant. We went there, had some
sponsor.
dinner.
Let's go.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Oh, you already ate tonight?
Yeah,
dude.
Yeah,
oh, man, you're an old person now. Yeah,
and we're an hour behind. We're an hour behind. We ate dinner about 6 o'clock tonight. Yeah.
Well, the whole gang's here. We got Paul Maharry, we got Ben Bachmann, we got Jason Butt. We all work for UGAsports.com. We are the most popular Georgia Bulldogs YouTube channel in the interwebs. Make sure you subscribe to check out what we're doing in the channel. National champs, and we've taken over in terms of the coverage as well. Postseason baseball is what we want to talk about, not for Georgia because there's nothing to talk about other than, I guess, some more field renovations at Foley or whatever. But when the favorite gets kicked out of a playoff situation, really in any sport, it's kind of fun. But Ben, you were saying earlier for Tennessee, it's a little extra sweet seeing the Volunteers, the undisputed favorite to win the College World Series, not even make it there.
Well, they're the most, and I never just trash other fan bases on here, but they're the most obnoxious fan base. I know people call them hillbillies and stuff like that. I don't really know. I'm not from Tennessee country, but they're the worst fans. I don't feel an ounce of sympathy for them. I really don't. When you're flipping off people, I mean, they say don't talk shit if you can't hit. Let's be real. And they couldn't hit. So that's what was going on with them. I mean, you're looking at they're getting coaches kicked out because they're chest bumping umpires and they're flipping off people as they're hitting home runs. Guys, yelling at the umps because of strikes and whatnot, and getting ejected, players and coaches. And their fans being obnoxious. They always throw stuff on the field. It doesn't matter the sport. So, I mean, I think universally everyone wanted to see them lose, and it's just it feels great, honestly, to see them lose. I don't say this about other fan bases, but them, that I don't feel an ounce of sympathy. So I'm very happy that they're out, and thank you, Notre Dame.
That team was pretty good, though. I mean, 52-7.
There's some sweet irony that Ole Miss barreled its way into the College World Series, easy wins over Southern Miss. And if you remember, during the season, Lane Kiffin, when he threw out the first pitch, took the golf ball to the mound.
He did, yeah.
Tennessee.
Yeah, it's a little bit of sweet irony, as you said. Hillbilly is probably an accurate term. I can remember just when you draft through the state, if you're not in Nashville, it's not a place to be. There's really no reason. It's weird. It's Nashville, the rest of Tennessee. I've been to Memphis. I have nothing but not hate, but not love. Memphis is not. I went for the Liberty Bowl. When
Memphis barbecue's pretty good.
Yeah, it's fine. But again, the rest of the city it's terrible. I mean, Memphis is terrible. Knoxville's terrible. The state is awful. There's nothing redeeming about Tennessee. But then there's Nashville. Nashville's the best city in the South. So take that for what it is.
Chattanooga, I want Georgia as a state to make a trade to get the city of Chattanooga because I like Chattanooga.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe I haven't spent enough time there, but
it's revitalized in the last few years. Okay. So if you're basing it off of decade ago,
yeah. Well, everywhere else I've been in Tennessee, I could do without in the great United States of America. So Nashville is spectacular, though.
One thing I thought of, though, if you're a diehard Notre Dame baseball fan, which is already a very small subset of people on this earth, right? That means that you're going to spend 3 weeks, close to a month, in Statesboro, Georgia, Knoxville, Tennessee, and now Omaha. What a great summer you had, folks.
Yeah. I mean, but at the same time, I mean, you're getting to watch a team kind of that you didn't think was going to get there. So, if you're big into that type of stuff, I guess it would kind of be like if Georgia basketball made it and had to go to Statesboro, and well, they wouldn't go there, but
like Boise would be an option for it.
Boise,
or Spokane, Washington. It'd be like
right,
cities like that. Yeah,
Georgia fans would go there, but even like Dayne said, those cities are still much higher on the tier list than the ones he just mentioned.
Right.
But moving forward, what else? What else? We're just crapping on Tennessee here because Ben wanted to get it out.
He did. He
well,
was
I will praise you,
seeping
Paul.
out of him.
Actually, I'll praise Dayne because I know Dayne likes the Braves. I'm not going to praise you. I'm never going to do that. That the Braves won 11 in a row. So congratulations to Blaine and all to Dayne, and all the Braves fans. Not you, Paul.
Wow, thanks.
I went to a Yankees game while I was in New York, and I was like mystified with how boring Yankee Stadium is. Like,
I saw you tweet that. I've
we
never
left
been
after 3 innings because we were just like completely bored. And I was like, I think the Braves and Truist has elevated what I think baseball should be.
Well,
because there's no good views. There's not much to do. Like literally, it's like, hey, here's baseball. I went to New York expecting the mecca of baseball, and I'm like, I'd rather be in Pittsburgh for a game.
Yeah, I mean, I saw you tweet that, and then I was like, is he crazy? And then a lot of people started. After you tweeted that, everybody, for some reason, I guess this weekend and the atmosphere and everything going on with the Braves were like, the Truist Park is by far the best field to go to in terms of fan experience, et cetera. And we might just be spoiled a little bit. You go to Yankee Stadium, say you leave after the third inning, we might be spoiled then.
Well, what was so bad about it? Like, just in particular.
I mean, my wife and I just looked at each other like, would you rather be at a restaurant right now? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, well, me too. So we left.
Wow.
There's nothing to do around the stadium. And then, like, while you're there, it's like you look around, it just has no character, no personality. And I'm like, this is the best baseball franchise that there is in terms of, like, legacy and history. And you cannot tell.
Wow.
I don't know what old Yankee Stadium was like. I'm hoping it was better than that. But maybe my expectations were just too high.
Well, I grew up in Baltimore, obviously, so I know Yankee fans because they I think this, Jason. Now you might be able to back me up with this theory. Those fans cannot afford to go to games in their own stadium. They can afford to go to the away stadiums because every time I go to Camden, I love Camden. I think it's the best ballpark. I know, Jason, you told me that it was top 5 ballpark.
Camden's great.
It's amazing. And I remember every time I've gone when we played the Yankees, there's always been fights. And it's always like there's some guy in his mid-20s who, if you quizzed him on the Yankees, if he knows like more than 3 players, he can't know more than 3 players. Like they're like that. And they go to away team stadiums. Because last time I went, I was embarrassed. We were getting drilled. And I just remember these fans. I mean, half the time I was just taking pictures for Yankee fans with their little kids who came to a game. I'm saying, I'm like, oh, this sucks. But I just know that they're fans. Like, they litter away team games. Like, if they go and play the Braves, you guys have a pretty passionate fan base, so I don't think it would be as big. But up north, like every stadium, like they make up at least like a third of the stadium at every away game, those fans. So they go to a lot of the away games. I think it's because it's more expensive to go to Yankee Stadium.
Could be.
Mike Freeze watching from Hawaii. He says,
"What's up, Mike?
Aloha,
Mike. Jealous of you."
Yes, very.
Can we do the show from your house, Mike?
Yeah.
Write it off as a business expense.
Get us out there.
Fred F says, good evening, fellas. At some point before the season starts, are there plans to recap the memorable moments of the championship season? I think that's the summer. Like specifically, there's a little bit of that in almost everything I think we're doing at UGA Sports, like especially in the recruiting stuff and the logos everywhere. Over time, I think we'll recap it more, but there's plenty of stuff on this YouTube channel and UGAsports.com. I'd say we've turned the page a bit, but not completely.
Yeah, I know I'm having some stuff that will be coming out, kind of recapping. And Dash has been doing the best play from every game so far. But yeah, we are. I've actually talked to Roddy about that, so that will be coming soon. Fred, we're not, like Dayne said, we are moving a little bit forward, but we do plan to use this month and then July to kind of recap the season that was and all the great things that Georgia accomplished this past year.
What I think will be memorable will be when the College game day before the season, they're picking, okay, who's going to be the teams to win it this upcoming year, and they say the defending champions, and that's just never been said in 40 years or since game day's been around. I think that's going to be unique.
when will this finally kick in for Georgia fans? Because I have one of my best friends. He's a huge Georgia fan, alumni. I'm like, has it sunk in yet? And he's like, dude, I thought it would feel a little better than it does right now. Like,
that's crazy.
Yeah, like, when is it? I guess it might just be him, but like, I don't know if every Georgia is it going to be that first time the Jumbotron turns on and they're recapping it in the stadium with 92,000, and that's when it like really hits, because you finish the game, right, and then college football is done. There is no more college football except for specialty shows like us. Like, you're not seeing College Game Day, every Saturday, things of that nature, right? You move on. College basketball becomes a big thing. Masters, spring training, baseball starts. So college football doesn't start swinging back around until, a couple months from now?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I think that's when it's going to officially kick in for Georgia fans. Like, hey, we're the reigning champs, and this is why, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think it's fully kicked in for Georgia fans. Yes, you won the title, but like the bragging rights and things like that, I don't think will start until the season starts. And good God Almighty, the Georgia fans and the bragging on this is going to be crazy, even more than it is right now.
I would think for a lot of my friends who also went to Georgia, it's still like I think it's sunk in for a lot of them, but it's definitely not there isn't much bragging. It's definitely more of still a disbelief. Like, I can't believe it actually happened. I didn't think it would ever happen. It's just that's not how Georgia has done things, and then for it to happen. So I haven't seen a whole lot of boasting yet. Kind of like the way Alabama, once they got rolling, they became, kind of the schoolyard bully about it. But I think I'm kind of with you, especially if they beat Oregon week 1.
Yep.
I think, and then they're rolling after that because you beat Oregon week 1. I don't think South Carolina will be in a position to get an upset, and I think at that point you wait until Florida before you're worried about a team. And I say worried. I mean, Georgia should still be the better team than Florida, but that said, I mean, I just think that you're going to be able to be in that position to be kind of the king of the hill at that point and really brag about and be in a position to puff out your chest a little bit.
I've got a question for you guys. Like you just talked about Alabama, right? And how they've got that dynasty rolling. Do you think some Georgia fans are waiting to see if Georgia could be that? Because I think we're all in the media side of things looking at it like Georgia could be that next out. That was the big step. But can they be that next Alabama? And are fans looking at it like that? Like, this might just be the new norm now, whereas this wasn't just a one-off and we're going to have to wait another 40 years. Dayne's going to have 17 grandchildren by the time the dogs win another one,
I mean, what constitutes a dynasty, right? Because if you're saying you have
national championships,
if you have to win the multiple national championships, Georgia's not there. But if you're just saying that Georgia has to be in that mix, then like Georgia's right there at the top with everyone else. I mean, that's a very small group, right? It's Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State. If Clemson can turn it around again, they're in that mix too. But otherwise, that's the small crew. That's the elite of the elite right now.
Well, this is what I have to say on that is I think if you looked at who could be the next dynasty after Alabama, I think Georgia's number one for a couple reasons. One, I look at the job. Georgia's a traditional football school in power, and they're an elite, talent-rich state with a lot of money. I would still say I know A&M's in the SEC, but they joined in, 2012? Among the traditional SEC schools, Georgia, I remember in 2019, pulled in the most revenue. So they have money, they have a talent-rich state, and they have a winning tradition, and they're winning. They're currently the defending champions, who Kirby's at top 3 recruiting class every year. So when you look at all of that, and I mean, he's under 50 years old as a head coach, I just think that you look at all those factors and say they're in the best position to be the next dynasty. I just think with NIL and with USC and potentially one of the Texas schools rising up, it might be harder to have another Alabama. So I don't know if there will be a dynasty, but I think if there is, I think it will be Georgia.
That's a good point.
I think one of the things to point out is that with this Georgia team, there's for those that follow the program and have followed recruiting closely, I think there is maybe more of an indication or more of a feel that they could be that next dynasty, as we've been alluding to. But if you're the casual fan who doesn't necessarily pay attention, I think you're just there for game days, and maybe you're busy at work all the time. You don't have the time to spend that extra, or you just want to do things in your downtime and not be freaks like us. And I think for those people, maybe it's not they're not so sure that this is the first step to a new beginning, a dynasty, or however you want to call it. I think you're still in that kind of gray area for a lot of folks who do follow the team, but they're just not as clued in as especially like our subscribers at UGA Sports. I think those people, I mean, you poll them, I think they're thinking, okay, this is the first step. It may not, the second title may not happen this year, but just how this program is recruited, like Ben said, Kirby Smart being under 50, the trajectory of the program, the talent that's there. This does look like the first of multiple titles that could come through Athens in the foreseeable future.
I do like what Ben pointed out. We can go to another topic here in just a second, Dayne, about the NIL though, and if that changes the game, and if Bama might be the last dynasty, that would be a really good topic, because we've been kind of touching on NIL throughout every one of our shows because it's such a unique, different thing. Dayne, I don't know how much you guys talk about it with Coach Donnan, but we talk about it a lot because I think it's really going to create a lot of parity in college football, where you're going to get that 4-star from Kentucky who normally would go to Alabama or Georgia. He's going to stay home now. You're going to get that parity a little bit more. That was a really good point, Ben, and I don't give you a lot of credit often, okay? So take this, maybe take it as a recording, put it on your phone, but that was a very good point, because Bama might be the last dynasty we see with this NIL and transfer portal thing, kind of going crazy.
There are some market corrections coming with the NIL stuff, though. Like, I think you're seeing it at Miami already, where some of the promises are not necessarily coming through with people. Right. I mean, that's what happens in Miami. But what I'll say is that when I speak with Coach Donnan and some other people that I know that have been around college football for a long time, they talk a little bit less about NIL than I think most people do, either media or fans. And there's more worry around the transfer portal and what that's doing to roster management. Now, those are hand in hand, right? Because how does one team lure a player from the portal to their school? It's going to be through NIL as much as anything else. But just the transfer portal rules have made it really, really, really hard to even know who's on your team and kind of be able to rely on people that way.
Yeah, that's what Ben made such a good point at. It's going to be interesting to see.
Well, roster management now is going to be harder, because I think when Kirby said after they won the title, he sat down with Chris Fowler and was talking about coaches leaving the game. Some really good college coaches want to go pro or leaving. It's because now you have to not only recruit high school kids and evaluate them, but you're looking at the portal now and saying, hey, maybe I'm going after a portal kid, and now I have to recruit them and manage your roster spots that way, or I have to recruit my own roster. You're going to have to go to kids, sit them down, and sell them on being a Trayvon Walker who started 1 year and ended up being the number 1 pick, or selling a guy on NIL, potentially saying, hey, you can get good NIL services. I know some coaches, I'm not saying Kirby's doing that, but other coaches are definitely doing that. So I think that makes it harder on coaches, knowing you have to try to recruit multiple different phases, kids on other teams, kids on your team, and in high school / JUCO. It just makes it more challenging. I think that's why more coaches might want to go to the pros who otherwise wouldn't, or take other jobs.
That's one reason why I wonder. I don't know if NIL. I don't want to dispute that it's going to offer more parity, but I do think the programs with the most resources are going to use it to their advantage, much greater. I think Georgia having their collective setup, Florida having theirs. I think the schools that have the resources and have the people that they trust that they can put in place, and they can connect them with the donors. And if you're a school with a bunch of big time donors, I think you're going to be able to sell that NIL much better. Now, Nick Saban clearly hates it, and you can tell, and this is really the point I wanted to make, is he's obviously, for lack of a better term, scared, in my opinion, of what this means for him, because he has had, it is rich when he came out and started saying how Texas A&M's buying everybody, as if, come on,
right?
He's had a lockdown on the recruiting game since 2007, essentially, and now it's threatened because of NIL and also because of the transfer portal. I think when it comes to roster management, and he hates the fact that he's not going to have that, because There was a quote, and I'm not going to say Nick Saban's a bad coach. By no means am I trying to make that point. But he had a quote when he was with the Dolphins, and then Alabama, blanking on the 80 at the time, who came down to get him from Miami. He didn't want to leave Miami. Alabama, said, no, we're going to pay you a ton of money. You're going to come with us. And Saban agreed. And his quote that he said was, he goes, like something to the effect of like, I'm not a great coach, but nobody's going to ever out-recruit me. Because in college football, the better players you have, more so than the actual X's and O's from coaching, gives you the better chance to win championships. That is threatening. That he is now threatened by how this changes the game when it comes to recruiting.
In terms of transfer portal, and I might be just slow on the subject, is there going to come a time where they're not going to be eligible immediately and it goes back to sitting out a year, or now are we just full on? Yeah. Like, has there been anything that's been put out on that?
I don't think so, but I can't imagine it going back. That's just, you're talking about for all the spin was this is progress for these players, which I agree. I think like if you should be able to go wherever you want. I mean, and I think especially if the schools aren't paying you and you're not technically employees, then yeah, you should be able to go wherever you want. You shouldn't be restricted, especially when coaches can quit and go wherever they want as paid employees of the university school systems. So I just don't see from a PR, from a any kind of standpoint like that, I don't see them rolling that back.
The only reason I ask is because I know it started with COVID, and that was kind of their way to implement it, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And now I'm assuming, especially if Coach Donovan and folks that Dayne talks to are a little worried about the transfer portal, that it's not going to go back to how it was. And now we are now kind of in a college football free agency, if you will, for lack of a better term, every offseason. So,
I think there may be a little structure added around it. Having like multiple
periods each
year to where you can enter and exit the portal. That's kind of probably going to be
kind of like 1 week. It probably needs to be a shortened. Hey, you got this amount of time. Otherwise, you got to just sit out.
Well, I mean,
I would be okay with that.
And it's not even that. It's you've got. I mean, we don't have access to the portal. I wish we did. But there's, I would imagine, probably over 1,500 kids, if not more, still in the portal that don't have a college scholarship anymore because they thought they had a better avenue. And, there's some good players in there, but maybe they were too high on themselves. Maybe they got bad advice, and now they don't have a scholarship, not just to play football, but for education purposes. So maybe you shorten that.
Players came from Georgia.
Who was the player that recently said that it might have been a recent draft pick who said that I'm blanking on who that was. I'm blanking on everything today, but they said that they talked to former players at Georgia who were in the portal and they regretted.
Jackson.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's right. At league meetings. Yeah. And he said there were players who regretted that decision. And I think that it is. Yeah. I mean, I think the grass is always greener for a lot of guys. Right. And I think in the past, I mean, Kirby's talked about it and other coaches have talked about it. I think the best example of it all is probably Tom Brady at Michigan. He said multiple times when he wasn't the starter by halfway through his time there, he wanted to transfer and he went to Lloyd Carr's office and Lloyd Carr kind of talked him out of it. And he ended up starting, he shared that last year, but he started as a junior most of his senior season and went on to become, if he doesn't leave Michigan, who knows what happens to him?
Yeah, too bad he didn't pan out in the pros,
I mean, it's one of those things that you just don't know. Like, does he even get a 6th round selection at that point? Like, does he go somewhere and not play? So I think that basically by circumstance, players in the past had to stay. Now they can leave, which I do fully support, but there are consequences to those actions. And I think that for a lot of guys, yeah, they're like, oh, I can't believe I'm not playing, but they just might not be good or developed enough yet. And there might, and then it turns out there aren't other programs willing to take that chance and they don't need those positions. And then they end up stuck in the portal. And like you said, they don't have scholarships anymore. So, you gotta be very careful and really think those decisions through. They're not just college free agency can be good. It can also be bad. So to each.
By the way, by way of awkward transition, only because I want to add some levity to it, here's a photo that made me laugh. This is Robinson Cano making a minor league appearance.
You fell off. You fell off.
Chihuahuas.
You hate to see that.
Is that a real jersey?
Yeah, it's a real jersey. It was
the
SpongeBob night
for the Chihuahuas.
Yeah. So it was SpongeBob night for the Chihuahuas, and I know the Isotopes. That's Albuquerque. I don't know what city Chihuahuas is, but that's 39-year-old Robinson Cano in a minor league baseball game wearing a SpongeBob SquarePants uniform, which is just fantastic.
I love it.
You hate to see that. You hate to see it.
I love it.
Time to hang up the cleats, bud. Time to hang up the cleats.
With that, let's get a recruiting update from one jersey to another. All the ones you see in the photos from UGA recruits. Not quite as big of a recruiting weekend as last weekend when you guys talked about Arch Manning a lot, as everyone else was a lot. Ben, what's going on with guys on campus this weekend?
Well, another big legacy name you could say in the NFL, Todd Bowles, the head coach for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he was on campus this weekend because his son, Troy Bowles, one of the top linebackers in the country. There's actually an interesting note there. So Fran Brown coached Troy Bowles' older son, and obviously Todd Bowles' older son, coached him and recruited him. And then Glenn Schumann and Kirby are very much appreciated by Todd because I think it's well documented now. Louis Sean came out and said, the Buccaneers are going to draft me. And they appreciate Georgia players a lot, the Buccaneers and Todd Bowles. So that's something to watch with his recruitment. I've heard Georgia's doing a fantastic job recruiting him. I think it's between Georgia and Ohio State, and Ohio State's had a lot of coach turnover with the assistants since after the season. So I think right now Georgia's sitting a good spot there. Then you also had Tyler Williams, a wide receiver out of Lakeland, the same spot that Arian Smith is from. He's another one. He's a 6'5" receiver who's really fast. He's not quite Arian, but if you look at being a 6'5" receiver, his speed, he's crazy fast for a tall receiver. I know some people are going to look and say, is he a Tommy Bush or is he more of what his ranking is? I think he's more on that side. Georgia's coming out of the weekends looking very good for him. Brian McClendon told him he's the top guy on his board, and I think that really hit home with him. There's a couple of linemen, a commit, Ryquise McElderly, who's being recruited by Alabama and Auburn. He had a really successful visit. And Kelton Smith, who's out at Carver, who's a big target, who's a high 3-star. Georgia's sitting really good with him. I actually just put a future cast in for Georgia to land him. And then a couple other targets. Jonel Aguero, who's a safety who was at IMG, who's now back home in Massachusetts. He's a top 100 player. Georgia, he's supposed to commit the last week of July. Georgia's had a really successful visit with them. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with his next 3 official visits before he commits next month. And then lastly, Jamal Jarrett, who, interesting enough, Jordan Davis came in town this weekend, if anybody checks social media, and was dancing with the trophy. He came in town to recruit Jamal Jarrett, which I think tells you a lot about both Jordan Davis and his love for Georgia, and also when you look at how big of a target Jamal Jarrett is, because he's another guy. He's from the same area as Jordan in North Carolina, and he's 6'6", over 350 already. I mean, that is a large human being who's already rated as a top 50 prospect. So this was a very big weekend, and according to the early buzz, Georgia hit it out of the park for everybody. It's just going to be interesting because most of them are going to decide in July now. So this is a big month, and obviously they had another really good weekend.
I was looking while you were talking to see if there was any obvious overlap with Georgia coaches and Todd Bowles. And immediately I thought of, was Monken together with him at all in Tampa? And that was 1 year apart. So Monken was offensive coordinator for the Buccaneers in 18. Bowles got there in 19 as the defensive coordinator. But then looking back at Todd Bowles, he was with the Miami Dolphins from 2008 to 2011 as the assistant head coach. And Kirby Smart, it was a couple years before, 2006, was the safeties coach for the Miami Dolphins. So
I know that
they know all the same people.
They do, and there's that golf tournament that Bruce Arians. God, my brain is fried today. Bruce Arians does in Greensboro, and Todd Bowles obviously being tight with Bruce Arians. He goes to that same Greensboro golf tournament. Kirby Smart goes to that golf tournament. A lot of those they're in that circle. Let's just put it that way. They know each other. They communicate with each other. There's a definite relationship there.
Yeah, I think that it's crazy. This weekend, the amount of visitors. Last weekend, the amount of visitors that are super high on the Dogs is nuts to me. I mean, you start looking at a class prediction here, and you could put in almost every one of these guys. Jamal Jarrett, the thing that stood out to me before we move on to the next thing, Dane, the biggest thing that stood out to me was the picture Jamal Jarrett took with Jordan Davis. They are almost the exact same size, and Jamal Jarrett is about to be a senior in high school. So you want to find your next Jordan Davis. They don't grow on trees, and not saying that Jamal Jarrett is the next Jordan Davis, but you got to start with the size and the height to at least try to make your next Jordan Davis, and he has that. So, it'll be interesting to follow where he lands. I think that the Dogs have a really, really good shot with him.
Well, you also got to look at with Jamal. He runs track, and I saw that video of him running the sleds with all the weights on it. I mean, that was insane to be moving at that fast with stuff like that on you. And also, one thing I noticed about recruiting, just a small thing, the kids who officially visited the first 2 weekends, Georgia has a great chance with. These next 2 weekends are going to have great prospects on there too, but they're guys who I wouldn't predict to Georgia, most of them. So these next 2 weekends are more of, okay, can we flip momentum, or can we, be up to par with these other teams for these guys the last 2 weekends? I don't know if that was by design or not. I'm not in the coach's offices, but something's
is that
weird.
Is that not by design? Kirby Smart designs every piece of rice that goes on his plate before he eats it. That was by design, 1,000,000% by design.
That's interesting tidbit, Paul. That's interesting.
Yeah, every piece of rice that goes on Kirby Smart's plate, strategically placed.
You know what Kirby has for breakfast every morning? I actually know this to be true.
Well, Nick Saban eats 2 oatmeal cream pies.
He calls them little Debbie cakes, though, because he does that, and then 15 minutes of the Weather Channel, but 7 of its commercials. He says
let's see. Kirby's breakfast every morning, I'm going to go English muffin with grape jelly.
Whoa.
That's very specific.
I'll just say scrambled eggs and toast.
I think Jason's closest here because this is Mary Beth makes Kirby Smart 2 fried eggs every morning.
I like fried egg. Like a fried egg.
Fried eggs are good.
Paul, do you have pizza for breakfast too?
Dane, next topic, please.
Hey, real quick, I wanted to answer Fred's question down there about NIL.
Oh, what Fred's asking? Fred's throwing some fire out again?
Says, is it out of the realm of possibility for a school like USC to make an offer to get Brock Bowers back to the West Coast through NIL?
And you can't, because
he's already making good money here.
Yeah,
and he's also positioned to be a top 10 pick.
Hey Ben, did Jason want to answer this, or did you?
It's cool. More so legally they can't, because as long as he's at Georgia, not to say these teams don't do it or they don't have reps that talk to other representation and all that. Bowers does have an agent for NIL purposes, but they legally they can't communicate. Bowers is going to be making a lot of money this year, so you don't have to worry about USC kind of sneaking through the back door to get him back on the West Coast.
Let me add one thing here too, Jason. There's a lot of unwritten rules in college football, right? Where Jimbo's talking about, oh, you don't want to know where you can find the bodies, Nick Saban, like all that stuff, right? Yeah, like there's a lot of unwritten rules, right? If Kirby Smart's still the head coach at Georgia and USC were to somehow, because you can talk to Brock's parents, you can make a way to tell Brock, right? That's kind of an unwritten rule that you don't do. Even before NIL was, you try to take a kid but if once the coach leaves, it's kind of fair game. But it's an unwritten rule, and that's where Kirby, I think, would very adamantly step up and be like, no, USC, you're not doing this. So to put that in perspective, no, it's not going to happen. But I think that's one of those unwritten rules. As long as the coach is still here, you don't go fishing in the pond.
Correct.
That may be kind of the code, but that code gets broken often.
Of course. I'm saying in the case of Brock Bowers, like your star tight end, you're not going to let that code get broke. Does that make sense?
But even then, I think, all right, so if USC sends a rep from their collective to talk to Bowers' agent, for instance, Bowers' agent's going to say, F off. Like,
Right.
We're good. We're making money. He likes Georgia. We're good.
That last part is the key to me. The making money, he would do that anywhere. He likes Georgia. If it were a player that was slightly disgruntled, I mean, it doesn't take much to get from slightly disgruntled to wanting to leave, right? But Georgia's had where Marius Mims was disgruntled, and he went to go flirt around with other schools and make Mike Norvell clap awkwardly on a carpet with some music playing from the car. But then he turned around and came back to Athens, and so
he did.
Well,
hey,
with
Dane,
Bowers, he already has a deal with Zaxby's, right? So he has a deal with Zaxby's, and he's also playing for a good team. No offense to Pitt, but when Jordan Addison left Pitt, they're not really a big brand college football team. So I think those two, and also
Jordan Addison made some good strides last year. They had a number one or first overall pick, first round pick quarterback
from Pitt to USC.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Like there is a difference there.
He also lost, but again, he also lost his quarterback to the draft. So you're not going to stick around Pitt when you're that type. Dane, I can't highlight the comment. Can you highlight Jeff's comment for us real quick, and then we can move on to the next thing?
What do they serve breakfast at Motel 6?
Yeah. Ben, what do they serve there?
I eat Cheerios every day for breakfast. Plain. I don't pour milk in it or anything. So that's I guess that's what Motel 6. They just want to be like me.
Dane, so you missed it. So we this is week 3. She hasn't been back, but Ben's estranged lover came into the YouTube chat and said, sorry. For everybody watching, I'm sorry to recap this again if we're going through it, but this will probably be the last time we do, unless she shows back up. But Ben's estranged lover showed up in the chat and said, so sorry, this is the only way I can contact you. You've blocked me on all other social media. I just want you to know that I love you and I care for you.
This is fantastic.
Yeah, and then
y'all shows are way better than ours.
Yeah, then she said, what did she say about the Motel 6, Jason? Like, you left your belt?
Yeah, he left
I left my belt, apparently. My belt, I left it.
And so Dane, you know how it operates, right? You host a show. If somebody gets out of hand in the YouTube comments, you time them out or ban them, right? So I timed out the account. 5 minutes later, the account comes back. So if it was a bot, Dane, you can back me up on this. You're very good at this. The bot would have just left, I assume, right? The bot then came back, and that's when we found out about leaving his belt at the Motel 6, and then found out that they left the light on for him. And Ben didn't know what that meant. So it's been a running joke ever since.
Do we think that left your belt is like code for something else?
Yeah, we do. We've been looking into that.
Stayed at a motel? Real talk. I've never stayed at a motel in my life, and never intend on staying at a motel in my life.
That's what you say, but
your sources claim I've been at a motel, but my sources, myself and my body, say no.
This may reveal a little weirdness about me. If I just ask you to name the sketchiest hotel with the most, or motel, which either, like the one that comes to your mind instantly, you would tell people.
Ramada Inn.
No, but see, like mine's as specific as there's a trade winds off of the interstate I-75 just north of Forsyth. That. Never stayed there, but like.
Well, it's the one in Athens. No, I don't want to disparage an Athens business. Never mind.
No, yeah. Don't do that. We know I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I've had a friend visit over there before. I've heard stories. Yeah.
Funniest Athens story I have right now is that Chelsea's on Baxter Street.
Oh yeah, great.
Which used to be a gentleman's club, is now going to be a wedding venue, which is just. Yes, it is being revitalized right now, and I forget the name of it, but it is going to be for weddings and events, which is just great.
Yeah, like you said, I think you said, Dane, in a tweet or a comment or something, you were like, somebody's uncle is going to be like, man, I've been here a time or two.
I didn't need directions to get here.
Yeah, right. You remember that old Chelsea building? Yeah. Oh yeah, I've been here. Yeah. That's where you're getting married at, boy. All right.
Yeah, somebody commented and said it's better than the bride saying, "Yeah, I worked here at one time."
Oh, that's rough.
Time for another awkward transition, and this one is Chip Carey's suit jacket 2 nights ago.
Not bad.
Really, Ben? Would you
I don't
rock
think
that?
it looks bad.
You
The
don't
The
think this is a
matching's a
bad
little
look?
bit. It's a little sus, to say the least.
Ben, you would rock that?
With the pink jacket, pink jacket's fire.
At the
A lot
Motel
of
6 it
colors
is.
are in right
At the
now.
the Motel 6. That's a Motel 6 jacket for sure.
No, but
You're giving vibes off.
He needs a pure white undershirt
I agree.
instead of plaid,
But that-
and it would be fine. The jacket by itself is not fine. Let's
Ben,
clear
I'm
it.
questioning the judgment of everything you've ever said if you approve of this jacket.
All I know is my wife's really big into fashion, and the vibrant colors like the pink, like the lime green and orange, like that's in for this spring for whatever reason. A lot of women are wearing, like, I'm not saying this is a women's blazer, I don't know, but I assume it's not.
If you have to ask, right?
Yeah, like but a lot of women are wearing like the especially around the DC, or really then more of like New York, and then when we went to Montreal, we saw a lot of it. They're wearing like they're suiting up basically, and they're wearing stuff like this, like the pink, like a pink suit up and down.
So you're saying Chip's in trend then?
He's in trend, yes, very much.
Wow.
In terms of the colors, yeah.
I'm saying
Wow.
it's a cry for help. So while I was in New York the last 3 days, it is a state that does allow sports gambling. Governor Kemp, Georgia legislator.
Yeah, come on.
I have to drive to DC and Virginia to place my bets because Maryland has not done the online portion yet, and it's so
that's so weird. I think that before New York became legal, wasn't New Jersey legal? I want to say, and like something crazy, like 9 out of 10 bets were placed within like 5 minutes of the border.
Yeah.
Jason, when is it going to open in Maryland?
Dude, it might not even make it for football season. Like they're waiting on some study to they want to be very inclusive when it comes to who can, or at least that's what they've said. I think it's written into the law, so they had to do some study to make sure that people aren't going to be left out of the process. But I don't understand why.
Here's the study. Open it up and let people gamble. Then they're in the process.
So, like, here's the thing. Like, they have the casinos that are here now can take bets on site. So I don't know why those places can't have their apps running while they figure the rest out. So they're losing money. It's insane. I literally, DC and Virginia, I just drive over and the geolocation finds me, and I'm losing money left and right. It's great.
Jason's like, if gas isn't high enough, gas plus the losing bets. I mean, I'm
love lighting money on fire.
Right?
Like when I leave Georgia, it's one of my favorite things. I was in Colorado. Yeah. Let's land from the plane. Let's do a couple, in the airport, couple bets there. We're going to New Orleans next month, right? A couple bets going to happen there.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Dane. I just had to throw that out there.
I'm as frustrated as anyone that the state that I live in is not making this a priority because maybe it could fund my kids' college too. So there's a lot of pros to it.
Or it could defund your kids' college very quickly, Dane. And if you watched last week's episode, I'm on that train. So let's.
Oh yeah.
Maybe let's.
Paul,
NBA betting analyst.
I'm saying I'm going to make bets either way. So my kids need to go to college on someone else's dime. So I just need to contribute to that process.
Oh, Jason, I drive up to PA. The casino up in PA. Maybe that's the Motel 6 I was at for all I know.
You must have.
That's
you must have had a bad night gambling, and then you didn't even remember the incident at the Motel 6.
Low Elo Joe says Harry Carey just rolled over in his grave with that photo of Chip.
Yeah, it's rough. But
Holy cow.
It's in fashion. But and Ben might be up on the fashion. I don't know.
All right, let's wrap with a little Georgia gambling talk here and just kind of because when I was in Colorado about 6 weeks ago, they didn't have a lot of college football odds up. I use DraftKings. That's not a promotion for them, but if they want to sponsor us, even though you can't bet in Georgia, whatever, that's cool. Over under total for wins in the regular season, 10.5 was the line, which I'm thinking, how do you find 2 losses on that schedule? Which is not it's not saying that Georgia's necessarily that great, though I think they're a really good team, but it's like that's an easy schedule. I can see you dropping 1 somewhere. That happens in football, but dropping 2, I don't know.
It seems like that line is banking on an injury or injuries. You don't want to commit to 11. You don't want to go too small at 10 or 9.5 because that would just be stupid. So I think it's I think that's where that line's coming from.
That's what I was telling Dayne pre-show. If they go 11, everybody's going to take the under. 10.5 though gives you that skepticism, and Vegas. I mean, I hate it so much. Vegas is right most of the time though. Like it's weird. You know, they're within like a point of every NBA game, and you're like, what? How does that make sense? You know, Kevin Durant fouled out 16 minutes ago, and they're going to win by 3. You saw that coming? What? But you know, they're close on everything. It's interesting to me though, because I think if you put 11, people are going to take the under, but that doesn't make sense because I don't see 2 losses on Georgia's schedule. But obviously Vegas, somebody does. You know, somebody does. Ben, you're a betting expert apparently. You see 2 losses on the.
No, I don't. So I look at it as, okay, who's the 3 hardest opponents? So you have Oregon week 1 against a first-time head coach traveling cross-country to Atlanta. And I don't think Oregon's as talented as Georgia. Then you have, I'll just say at home against Tennessee's on there because they're a unique team with the offense and how they're built. And it's still, I guess, a rivalry game to most people, especially I don't like Tennessee fans. So, yeah, I'm going to throw them on there. And then I would say at Mississippi State is the other one because Mississippi State, I think it was JT Daniels' first start. They gave Georgia fits that game, and Mike Leach and the air raid. They're an interesting team to me, and it's a road game in the SEC West, which is where Kirby's lost most of his regular season games. So I would say they're the 3 most challenging, and I wouldn't predict them to lose any of them. Now, could they lose one? Yes, and guess what? You would still hit 11 wins, so you would hit the over at 10.5. So I think it's still I would bet the over.
Are you coming with us to Vegas? Or not Vegas, New Orleans, Ben?
No, my mother's turning 60.
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
That weekend, so. I know you're upset, Paul. See, Paul seriously does love me, but, you know.
I was just surprised the line wasn't 11.5. I get why you wouldn't make it 11 because then you get a push and there's just.
Oh, if it's 11.5, I'm betting.
Everybody's betting the under.
Yeah, I'm betting your kids' savings on it. I'm betting my house on it. I'm betting the under because something can happen. I mean,
you also if they lose twice, if they lose to Oregon week 1 and then drop a late season game, still win the East, then they still have to win the SEC championship. And at that point, no, it's just 12. The SEC championship wouldn't count because it's just regular season games.
Right,
so.
right.
I don't know. I think that's a good line. I think that's a good line, to be honest.
You say if they lose to Oregon, they're 17-point favorites.
Yeah,
the games in Georgia.
I don't think they're going to lose to Oregon. I'm just saying, if you lose to Oregon, your margin of error is a late season screw up. Against Tennessee or Mississippi State or even the game in Florida. I think that's that, and then injuries, of course. Like if injuries happen to Stetson and then QB2 Carson Beck goes down, I mean, then what?
Yep. Oh man,
if something happens to Stetson, they're in the same spot with any of the quarterbacks they put out there, in my opinion.
Yeah,
like someone can emerge.
Hold up, what?
I don't think Carson Beck is that good of a quarterback, and if anything, like Vandegrift's inexperience is not going to. I'm saying not. You interpret that as me saying that if Stetson goes down, nothing changes. What I'm saying is, if Stetson goes down, regardless of the 3 quarterbacks available after that, I think you're in the same spot.
I wanted you to clarify that because I read that a different way, and I was like, whoa,
I appreciate that.
Whoa.
You know what I do have to think about that? I guess a little off topic, but if Stetson did go down, I think they should go to Vandegrift because I think he could run a similar offense to Stetson compared to Carson, and I think the continuity. That's just a little side thing. This is my opinion.
Man, that would make for a hell of an interesting POS show after that game. Who comes in if Stetson gets hurt and plays significant minutes? I'm just saying. But I'm Team Beck because his grandma came onto the show.
Oh, Miss Carol.
So,
Jeff here is mentioning,
there you go. Yeah,
Dayne just made an enemy.
Yeah,
no me.
So yeah, Dayne. I don't know about you, bud, but
Dayne didn't make an enemy. I think I did here.
I'm in the business.
No, Dayne just said Beck wasn't that good.
You make friends and make enemies.
Yeah, all right.
Not a person on this planet has hyped up Ladd McConkey more than I have, and someone from his family reached out to me and said, "Hey, thanks for that." So, like, you get both sides of the coin.
Yeah. Well, we're just so you know, from here on out, Dane, the call-in show represents Team Beck, Miss Caroline. We have a little bit of bias here. We ride with Beck.
I'm riding with Vandergriff. So here we go. I'm invading. I want to bring my people. You bring your people.
I might have to go with Dane here. I'm a bigger fan of him as a host than you, so I have to go with him.
Dang.
Are we done here, Dane?
No, we're not. We're gonna sit on that for a while. That's that praise. Conference odds to win the SEC. What do you think Vanderbilt's number is?
Plus 10,000.
Plus 100,000.
100,000.
Holy cow!
Yes.
Why not?
100,000?
Yep.
Did you guys see the stat when Georgia played them this year about they have like the same amount of wins post like one of the world wars they do after? I'm like, you're showing this up as they were a powerhouse before the World War, and I'm that's an insult.
Yeah.
They're crazy. Like what program Vanderbilt was 100 years ago when like only one skin color was playing. Like, what are you talking about? Like what?
Who do you think is the team in the conference with the second worst odds to win the league?
Oh,
Mississippi State?
No. It's not anybody in the East.
It is. It's Missouri at 30.
That's who I was.
Dude, I always forget about Missouri being in the East, to be honest with you, because they're on the West.
All right, so I'll run this down from the lowest odds to the top, which I know is a weird way to do it, but Vandy's the worst. Missouri at plus 30,000. Then Auburn and South Carolina.
I was going to say Auburn's down there.
I figured South Carolina was at the bottom.
Auburn and South Carolina
Auburn's
plus
down there.
15,000. Then comes in Mississippi State at plus 10,000. I had a friend one time that had a bet. You remember Auburn in 2012 goes 3-9, fires Gene Chizik. They go into the next season with plus 10,000 odds. Buddy of mine put, I guess it was $10 on him. He was in Vegas. The next year, Gus takes him to the title game. Oh. And my buddy's in the stands as Kelvin Benjamin catches the ball that cost him $10,000.
Pain.
So Mississippi State's at plus 10,000, LSU at plus 7,000, Arkansas at plus 6,000. Excuse me.
Arkansas above LSU. I like that. Go Pittman.
Arkansas has been the most solid 3-sport program this year.
Kentucky also at plus 6,000. And then Ole Miss and Tennessee at plus 5,000. Florida's at plus 4,000, fourth best odds for the league.
No shot.
A&M at plus 1,600.
No shot.
And then Georgia at plus 135. Alabama, the favorite, at minus 125.
Wow, those odds. Am I crazy? Yeah, I am crazy. I was going to say, am I crazy to think Tennessee would be a good value bet, but they have to play Georgia and Alabama, so that's tough. Tennessee would be a good value though, because you said Tennessee was what, 5,000 plus 5,000?
Yeah, Tennessee's plus 5,000. What scares me about Tennessee is that that's a team that all right, what if they did the impossible and pulled off a win against Alabama, which they haven't done, but once in almost my life or something. But I could totally see them losing to Kentucky in the following couple of weeks.
That's true, but I'm saying in terms of just because I like value, right? I think that's a decent plus 5,000 for Tennessee is probably the best value. Mine, of course, obviously taking Georgia at 135 out.
I would say something like LSU, just because if they get on a heater, that's a program that can pull it together. I think it's a year early. But.
Yeah, I was going to say Brian Kelly could do something, but at the same time, you're right, a year early on them.
Mississippi State's decent value, but they just don't have the horses. I love Leach. I love his teams. Ben, you mentioned it earlier, when Georgia plays them, it's going to be frustrating for Georgia fans. It's going to feel like preparing for the triple option again, where it's we don't do this all year long, and then all of a sudden we have to be invested in this for a week, and it's just brutal.
How many times do they run the ball? Mike Leach's offense. I'm curious if he's ever even ran the ball 100 times. His offense is in a season. I guarantee he's had several seasons where it's under 100 rushing attempts.
But every pass is 2 yards.
But both of you guys are scared of Mississippi State. Are you scared of Mississippi State, Jason?
No, because I don't think
I'm not
I don't think
either.
they'll be able to hang on the one thing about Mike Leach's teams is they never play defense. He never does anything on that side of the ball.
I'm much more scared of Kentucky than I am of Mississippi State. That's just me. I mean,
Kentucky will play defense. I mean, that's the thing. I think
you're also on the road.
But like the longer Mike Leach is at Mississippi State, the worse that defense is going to get. That's just how it is. I mean, historically with him. So he's somebody that in the SEC, as long as especially if he's at Mississippi State, I don't think he'll ever get over the hump. I mean, he almost did at Texas Tech that one year when he had Crabtree and they beat Texas, and then they ended up losing a couple weeks later. It might have been the next week, actually.
I think it was.
And but I don't think he'll ever be able to get over the hump and be a SEC West contender. I mean, again, I just until he fields a great defense.
Write this down, Ben. Write this down the inside of your belt that you just got back. Georgia's score will be closer against Kentucky than Mississippi State. Write that down the inside of your belt.
But see, that's not representative of anything, Paul.
Close to beating Georgia. They haven't been. And last time Mississippi State played Georgia, they lost by only a touchdown because they were in a whole different offense where they throw the ball a million times. They're up-tempo, and that's what gives Georgia's defense the most fits. It just does. And also, I look and say, because of how that offense is run, that's something that could stump Georgia's defense and get everything off kilter, or Georgia's going to have to score a bunch. So that's why I think if you had – who would be the three teams that you would be most scared of this next year, Paul?
Oregon, Tennessee, Kentucky.
Okay. Well, then we're just flipping one. But I seriously believe Mississippi State's more firepower on offense because how they throw the ball. I'm not sold on Will Levis and the receivers Kentucky has. I'm always sold on what Mike Leach has.
Where does Levis hype come from? Who watched him last year and said this guy's a future first-round pick? Go ahead and book. If that guy goes in the first round, it is a straight-up bust. Like, that's ridiculous.
No, Dan, have you seen Anthony Richardson in the top 5? He had one more touchdown than pick. One more touchdown than pick, and you're telling me he's a top 5 pick? He didn't even start half the games last year.
We just don't have quarterbacks anymore if those two guys are first-round picks. We're just done with quarterbacks.
I'm telling you, Will Levis is that guy. Will Levis is that guy.
Where? Why?
He's that guy. He's that guy. He's that guy.
What guy? That guy. What's he doing?
You're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy. Will Levis is that guy. Will Levis is that guy. I'm telling you. Bookmark it, put it inside Ben's belt.
What Will did Levis you see that I don't see?
I think
like
he's being
Slavitz more than I like Will Levis right now.
Stop it.
Paul, what have you seen from Will Levis?
Better than both of them, and he's not a future NFL guy.
Hey, do you have Heisman odds in your Georgia gambling?
No, they didn't have those on there. Made me upset.
I got one. My DC app. I got. I did it too. I put $5, a big whopping $5 on Stetson Bennett to win the Heisman.
How much?
12,400.
What does that net you if you win?
$650.
Nice.
Yeah. That's not that
that's worth it.
Yeah, that's not bad because we've talked about it. Eddie from Ackworth has talked about it.
Yeah.
Chance has talked about it with us on the show. He is not that guy. yeah, Richard, you're right. Oh no!
Paul, legitimately, what are you seeing that tells you that Will Levis is something special?
He's plus 6,000 in the Heisman.
Wait, is it he runs a little bit?
He's got that swagger about him. He's got that swagger. I like it. I'm just telling you. Dayne.
Did he have a throw that went past 10 yards against Georgia last year?
I know.
They were all screens. Wandale Robinson's numbers. He had like 15 catches, and he didn't even have. He barely had
48.
Who did? Look. Who did have a pass over 10 yards against Georgia's defense last year? I mean, not many. Let's not go crazy.
DJ did. Okay. He had a 20-yard completion. He technically had one.
All right, here, Paul. I'm gonna look at you in the face here, and this is coming from a guy that said that DJ Uiagalelei would win the Heisman last year. Yep. You have a worse quarterback take than I do.
No, I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you, like legitimately, I'm on the Will Levis hype train. And when it comes time for you guys to hop on the train, it's already going to be well left the station. It's going to be well gone.
Paul is just anti-Starkville and me, and that's why he just thinks Will Levis has to be his savior. I'm looking at you, and I can read you, Paul. That's why I know you in trivia and everything I do. I know your strategies inside and out.
If Levis is a first-round pick, it's going to be from one of those teams like the Texans or the Jets, that just like cannot do a quarterback.
Look, I'm not saying he's a first-round pick. I'm just saying
what?
I'm not. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying he's that dude. I'm saying he's that dude. He.
What does that dude mean?
That dude means that he will do more with Kentucky against Georgia than Will Rogers and Mississippi State and the crapshoot offense that they do. That's what I'm saying.
Is better than Will Levis.
Will Rogers is the second best quarterback in the league.
What? Stop it. Paul, you're taking what? You want to compare numbers?
Hold on, look at the numbers.
Pull this up.
Numbers. If Will Levis was on Mike Leach's team, you don't think
he wouldn't be on Mike Leach's team because he can't throw?
That's my point.
You're not that guy. You're not that guy. You're not. Will Levis is that guy.
Oh, Ben, you were right. Guy. Paul's got trash takes, man. I'm gonna keep it fun throughout the season. Wow.
Yeah. Hey, Lowe's right. Just remember, Paul said this at the end of the season. You're exactly right. You're exactly right, Lowe. Exactly right.
Let me find Kentucky's national title odds with that guy at quarterback. Oh, it's the same as Mississippi State. That's so funny.
No, guys, I like motels more than Will. I guess so.
All right, here's teams that have odds of plus 10,000 to win the national championship. Mississippi State, Kentucky, Nebraska, NC State, Iowa, Arkansas, UCLA, Tennessee, Pitt.
Look, I'm not saying that they're going to win the national title. What I'm saying is they're going to be
a tougher. You're not saying anything.
No, what I'm saying is
you contradict yourself in your very next sentence, Paul.
No.
You just shouldn't talk at this point.
No, what I'm saying is Will Levis and the Kentucky Wildcats will put up a bigger fight against Georgia than Mississippi State will.
All right, so here's my thing about this. Are you basing this off a point spread? Because here's the difference for me. When I've seen Kentucky compete well with Georgia over the last couple of seasons, and by that I mean you get to halftime and it's not a blowout. Sure. At no point have I felt like Georgia's in danger of losing this game. That's not the case with that Mississippi State game a couple of years ago in Sanford Stadium. There was a time in that it gets like early fourth quarter, you're like, if this could go a little sideways here. I've never felt that with Kentucky.
You're gonna feel it this year, I think.
Because of that guy?
Because of that guy.
Because he's that guy.
He's that guy.
That's all I'm saying. Jeff Hightoff asks, is Arch that guy?
No, Paul doesn't want him.
He's worried he might run off Vandegrift.
He ain't it. He ain't it. It's Paul would say. He ain't it.
He's worried he's going to run off Vandegrift, but this is a Beck show. I am so confused.
Team Beck, baby.
Carson Beck is that guy.
Team Beck, he's that guy. We're that guy. He's that guy.
Let me run down these national title odds for what the screen holds. Alabama is the favorite at plus 200. Georgia plus 340 is the number 2 on this list. Ohio State, Clemson, Texas A&M. I kind of think that's where the legitimate contenders stop. Although, I guess in some crazy world, Miami has a decent team, an easy conference, and a good quarterback. So, I don't know. I don't think if they got to the playoff, they can beat any of the good teams. But y'all tell me if any of these teams you think are in actual contention to win games in the college football playoff. USC, Oklahoma, Michigan, Utah, Notre Dame, Wisconsin, LSU, Oregon, Florida, Penn State.
You're going way too fast. If we're doing
exactly, because it's like none of the teams belong there. But I'll go slower. I'll reset. USC.
No.
Oklahoma.
No.
Michigan.
No.
Utah.
Oh,
maybe. I like the Utes.
They might get there. No,
they might get there.
We're talking about winning.
I'm talking about winning getting to the national championship.
No.
I'm saying winning a game in the playoff to get to the national championship.
To get to the
national
championship.
Gets there, they lose.
To get to the playoff, yes. To win a game, no.
Notre Dame.
Right. No.
Wisconsin.
No.
LSU.
No.
Oregon.
Nope.
No.
Florida?
No.
I know Florida.
Penn State?
Nope.
No.
Miami?
No.
You could probably stop on.
Actually, I like their quarterback.
Right. So, the other ones that are Texas, Ole Miss,
Yeah, no.
Oklahoma State, Michigan State, Baylor.
People need to stop with this Texas crap.
That's the ones before you get to plus 10,000. So that, and I don't think Clemson's in super contention either. So that means going into the season, the teams that we think have a chance to win a college football playoff game are Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Texas A&M.
I don't think Texas A&M.
I wouldn't even put A&M in that category.
So then we're down to 3.
Yeah, there's 3. 12. I think there's a significant drop off after Ohio State, like significant.
Can someone explain the Texas stuff to me? Why are in these preseason polls are they top 10 when they didn't make a bowl game in the Big 12?
Lost Kansas.
Look, Quinn Ewers, Bijan,
how are they a preseason
Robinson?
Top 10? How are they going to have the number 1 offense?
I mean, people love people. They saw what Sark did at Alabama and think that he can replicate it. I mean,
and he's got a really good running back. He's got 2 really good wide receivers. He's got a quarterback transfer in. I mean, but it's hype. It's all hype.
He has a terrible culture. He didn't make a bowl game in the Big 12 and lost to a walk-on fullback against Kansas,
who got a really cool deal out of that.
This is going to be the number 1 offense and a championship caliber team. I do not want to hear it on this Texas argument.
I mean, I like it though because in one of my parlays for conference champions, I got good odds on Baylor, and I think as anyone else in the Big 12, I think they got a shot to do it because
I think. Legitimately, I think besides the 3 teams, I think the only other team that all of us kind of could agree on is Utah coming from the Pac-12. But again, to win a game and get to the national championship.
The Pac-12's also, I think, just due to finally have a conference champion and get to the playoff. I mean, but they're in that situation where kind of like when Notre Dame gets there. I mean, it's just like, do they have a shot to actually win a playoff game? No. I think there's 3 teams. There's 3 teams right now that are head and shoulders above everybody else.
And we all agree on that. So my main point is, as you see all the changes coming to college football, that's part of the reason why. Because in a sport that lacks parity to that extent, that on June 12th, you can say 3 teams are in legitimate contention, you're going to see people, not only with money and what to be made there by playing more games, you're going to see people, how do we find ways to get more people involved in this?
Yeah.
Because there's more money to be made when more people are involved.
It's crazy though. It used to not be this way. You used to have to go into a season and you could make a case for 10 to 12 teams. And I mean, ever since Alabama got it rolling and then Clemson came on board, but it's just like, it is crazy how it shrunk to where every year going in, you're just like, well, yeah, 3 to 5 teams every year, which is, it's wild how the landscape has changed for, where most sports parity has become greater, it has not in college football.
Elo Joe says he's a Utah fan on week 1 because Florida.
Oh, that's gonna be
also,
rough.
Wait, I actually have a quick thing.
Like
any of you actually believe USC will win a championship under Lincoln Riley?
We haven't seen what he's.
No, I don't think he can.
Are you saying a national championship or are you saying conference?
Yes.
I think he could. Pac-12 is pretty easy. Yeah.
There's potential.
He doesn't have the linemen on either side of the ball, is my thing. Especially in the West Coast, the linemen are not on the West Coast.
He'll have to, but I think he's a good recruiter. I think he'll be able to recruit national. USC will sell. It'll sell these recruits,
and he'll be able to point at all the guys he's coached that are in the NFL and. Do you want to come block for this quarterback that's going to be in the Heisman race? Because I get most of my quarterbacks in the Heisman race.
USC is not they're not a solely local. Well, historically they're not. I mean, but they obviously haven't been what they once were. But he's banking on turning around again. It's such an uphill climb though for all these other programs that haven't been there. I mean, we're talking like we've said, there's 3 teams. It's crazy.
We've gone over time, so that means next time that Paul says to come on and produce for you guys, I can bring on my why college football needs promotion and relegation argument because that one's always sitting in the hopper.
I like it.
Yeah. Hey, I told Dayne this was going to be a 30-minute show. We ended up going an hour 10, but we had some really good talks. Ben talked crazy for a while.
You talk crazier with your Levis stuff.
You're still the same delusional clown, which you bring the ratings.
Look, I'm telling you right now, you guys are going to look back on this and be like, "Damn, Paul, you were right with the Levis thing."
We need to save this footage.
Right for all you said, he was that guy, and I don't know what that means.
Paul, on your notepad before the season, all those bold predictions I had. Oh yeah, I got them all right. Correct.
Yeah, you got
So thank you very much. That's all I
That was more recruiting, though. It wasn't that. But guys, before we leave, I'll let Dayne do the official sign off. First off, I want to say thank you to Dayne for hosting this for me since I'm at the beach, and thanks to Ben and Jason for jumping on with us as well as always. Guys, hit the like button on this video so we can beat rumors versus facts tomorrow. We always like beating those guys, but they're a tough matchup, guys. So we need you guys to hit the like button for us. And then, as always, Dayne, Coach, and Roddy are our toughest matchup. So we really need you to hit the like button on this video. Let the algorithm take this thing off and see what we can do. I mean, we're doing good in the podcast downloads against those guys. It's just the views we're struggling, you know. So, you know, if you can hit that like button, share it with a friend. Maybe we can overtake Dayne this week on the coaches show and, you know, take off. But no, in all seriousness, I appreciate you, Dayne, and I think I'm gonna go walk on the beach. They're having a wedding out here for like 2 hours, so I think I might go crash it. Yeah, I might go crash that
food.
thing.
Wait, are you gonna take their food, or are you gonna like take one of your frozen pizzas out there?
Probably do a little FP, in the oven, get it out there.
You might text Will Levis to see if he's around. Maybe y'all can do a dance together at the wedding.
Hey, he's that guy. He's that guy, pal. He's that guy.
And with that, have a good night, everybody.